So we're going to go ahead and get started here. I first want to welcome everyone to the Center for the Protection of Intellectual Property's 7th Annual Fall Conference. I'm Kevin Madigan. I'm Deputy Director here at CPIP. And before we get started this morning, I wanted to speak briefly about our program today and some of the themes that we're going to be touching on. So every year at CPIP, we adopt a common theme that informs our programming and our work throughout the year. And we always try to identify an issue that not only spans different forms of intellectual property, but one that's relevant to artists and to inventors, to those working in policy and in the creative and innovation industries. This past year, we focused on issues surrounding both direct and consequential price controls affecting intellectual property. You know, there's been a number of recent legislative efforts, regulatory agency actions, proposals for government mandates, all of which risk upsetting established markets for innovative goods and creative works. But we're also now seeing a reconsideration of some long-standing forms of price controls that many point out are outdated and perhaps no longer necessary. So CPIP's work over the past year has been dedicated to analyzing what effect these efforts have on innovation and creative activity. And we're going to be hearing a little bit more about that during our second panel this morning. Another of our panels today will discuss how IP rights facilitate the creative process and how they preserve ecosystems that help deliver creative works and new products to consumers. This theme is reflected in the title of our conference, the IP Bridge, Connecting the Lab and Studio to the Market. And this investigation into the role that IP rights play in commercialization is something that CPIP is going to be working on more over the next year. And so in that way, this program today incorporates our past year's theme with that of the year to come. Also, as is hallmark of all CPIP events, we're going to be hearing from individual artists and inventors about their creative process. We're going to be hearing about the struggles that they often face in protecting their works and enforcing their intellectual property, and also about the way that IP rights support and enhance the value of the fruits of their inventive and creative endeavors. In addition to these panels, we are very excited to have keynote speeches by Professor Rob Merges and Maria Palante. And then wrapping things up this afternoon, we're also going to have an IP-based ethics session led by Michael McCabe. So finally, before I turn things over to my colleagues to say a few words of welcome, I did want to say a big thanks to all of our sponsors, but also to Devlin Hartline, Christina Petro, and Mary Claire Durrell, the CPIP staff, without whom this event wouldn't be possible. And also just now, a couple housekeeping items. Christina just reminded me that we're not supposed to have food in this room, so please don't bring any in because
please take it out when you go on break.
Yes, please clean up after yourself. Also in your programs, at the bottom of the page, you'll find instructions for connecting to the Wi-Fi, as well as a hashtag that I know Devlin will be using to tweet today. It's hashtag CPIP 2019. So for those of you looking to tweet, please use that hashtag. We're also going to be circulating a survey about our program today that you can fill out anonymously. We welcome everyone's feedback about how we can make these events better, and so I encourage you to fill that out. So once again, welcome to everyone. And now I'm going to invite CPIP's Director of Copyright Research and Policy, Sandra Esters, to say a few words.
I've had the good fortune to be involved in all 7 of CPIP's annual conferences. For the first 3 years on the outside as a supporter when I was working at the Copyright Alliance, and now for the last 4 as a director of CPIP. And I have to say we would not have gotten to lucky year number 7 without all of the support of all of you. And not just financial support, which of course we welcome, but your intellectual curiosity, your willingness to comment and to provide feedback, and your friendship in all of our endeavors. So thank you and welcome back. Sean.
All right. Hi, I'm Sean. You've seen me around before at other CPIP events, and now I'm executive director. Woohoo! Now I'm incredibly excited and really honored to be able to step into this role and take over from just the amazing work that Adam Mossoff and Mark Schultz did in getting CPIP going all those years ago. And then we have Matt Barblan is here as well, and he had served as executive director. And so it's really just been such great momentum. And now my main hope is to not screw things up. I want to keep things going forward in a good way. But just a couple of quick comments, and then we're going to get into our keynote speaker, Rob Merges, to give his talks. Basically, CPIP is going to continue on doing, exploring IP's benefits for creativity and innovation. That's the core of what CPIP has done. We're balancing out the academic discourse, which for a number of years became quite weighted towards folks looking at the negative aspects of IP. And that's fine for folks to do that, but there's also a lot of good that intellectual property does. And so that's a core of the CPIP mission, and of course that will continue. We're also going to be expanding more broadly into innovation and entrepreneurship, things that some of you may know that I have some past experience with, and then also more into the international realm, because we think that in both those areas it's important to get this message of IP and its benefits out to folks. So one of the things that we're creating now, we just launched here at Scalia Law School, an innovation law clinic that will be supporting both Mason faculty, staff, and students in their startup ventures, as well as folks in the external community. And that will go hand in hand with a major expansion of the Arlington campus here, where right next to this building will be a brand new building, hopefully within only a few years, that will then house a new Institute for Digital Innovation, and as well as some new School of Computing Science programs. So basically the idea from the top level of George Mason University, the administration there, is that this will be an innovation district for the DMV. So basically we'll have, kind of co-working spaces, this clinic to support startups, lots of interesting things going on. So if any of you have interest in that aspect, come talk to me on the breaks and I can give you more information about what's happening there. Internationally, we're going to work with some academic centers around the world that share our vision of IP and its benefits. And so you'll see some more international programs we're doing, bringing people here and also a lot of us going there. So that's basically the top-level vision. I just wanted to give you a sense of what I'm thinking about and what we're thinking about at CPIP now that I'm executive director. I want to also mention a couple of new things. A lot of you know Professor Erica Leeton, and she's a professor at University of Missouri, longtime FDA lawyer, and just really an expert in the field. And she has agreed now, we're honored to have her come on as a non-resident director of life sciences. So she'll be coordinating our life sciences programming. We're incredibly excited about that. Scalia Professor Eric Clays will also be joining us in a more formal role to help head up our scholarly initiatives. So things like Edison program and things where we're cultivating young scholars and helping them move on their path into the academy. So he'll be joining us in that capacity. I also want to mention on the sense of scholarship and activities, Devlin Hartland is now even more formally Professor Hartland. So this past year, the faculty voted to have him take on a professor position, and he had been teaching as an adjunct, and now he is a regular professor, member of the faculty. So we have Professor Sandra A-Stars continue to do her excellent clinic, and Devlin. So we're really building up the IP faculty here as well. Okay, I think that's all the major points I wanted to make. And now what I'd like to pivot over to do is introduce our keynote speaker.